But the most important thing, it's very simple to go, I'm going to buy a shop and convert it. What are you going to do to it? And will the building allow it? Because you got to understand that shops generally are below properties. So a lot of the times, the residents are going to be like, well, what are you doing? What is it going to cost? Like, are you opening up a nightclub? Are you opening up a bar? Are you opening up this? They can actually block you because it depends on the zoning and it depends on what the residential stuff. Now, if you're opening up just a general shop, they can't, what are they going to do? You're selling coffee, you're selling fruits, whatever, it's fine. Where it starts to get dicey, which is what I wanted to do once, is where you want to turn it into a parking lot or a garage, even a garage. That's where it gets dicey. Hi, welcome back to the channel, Buying Greece with me, Arthur. The channel, of course, it's all about buying property in Greece, managing it, project managing it, leasing it, anything to do with real estate in Greece. For those that are new to this channel, welcome. Thank you for sticking around. Basically, I've been investing in property since 2017. Personally, I've done it for about 10 years before that with my parents as well, so I learnt the ropes, and I've helped so many friends and family buy their own properties in Greece and then maintain them as well, manage them and sort of help guide them. That I thought, I'm going to create a business and also I'm going to create a podcast and a YouTube channel about it. So let me just plug that before we get into today's episode. Buyinggreece.com.au is where you'll find a whole list of all my services and how to get in touch with me. Also at Buying Greece across all the socials, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Buying Greece on Spotify if you don't have time to watch videos, which I personally don't. So I love to Spotify, so why wouldn't you? So I thought I'd jump on today and talk about converting commercial property into residential property. I did a live TikTok on Sunday and I threw that question out. What do people want to see? Or what do people have questions about? And someone messaged me privately and was like, can you tell me how to convert a commercial property into a residential property? And I thought, perfect, because I'm literally about to go and do that. For those that have followed my story over the last few months since I started this whole thing, during COVID, I purchased my first shop for about 14,000 euro and then decided to convert it into a studio apartment. And that was an interesting time, but it's actually worked out very well. And I'm about to repeat that cycle right now. So I thought, what a perfect way to get on top of it, talk about it, explain everything in detail, and also show you guys, I'm going to be in Greece in July, and my whole purpose, aside from the fact that I'm there for a couple of clients, looking at properties in Athens and whatnot, and trying to go to Zakynthos for myself, to be honest, I'm there mainly to start the process of converting a commercial shop, which I bought last year, into a residential property. I want to turn it into a studio loft. So hopefully this is informative and entertaining for you. Okay, here we go. So step one, obviously you've got to find the shop. That's, you can go wherever you want. You can go onto Spitogato, you can go onto Spitimo, you can go into individual real estate agents, just type in, Greek property, whatever, figure out your location in Greece. Just start looking through the commercial aspects of stuff. Even Facebook Marketplace, I'm absolutely shocked at how much property goes up for sale on Facebook Marketplace in Greece. It's actually insane. And it makes sense because the agents are like, well, stuff it, it's free, it's cheap. That's the other thing. They just want to do it cheap and free. When I had bought this shop in 2021, whatever it was, I did all the works to it. I put in money into the bathrooms and it looks amazing. And I want it to look good because it's such a small place. Anyway, I took all these professional photos, gave it to an agent. Hey, it's up. In the cloud? I can't find it on Spitogato. What do you mean? Where is it up? Oh, do you want me to put it on Spitogato? Yeah. Oh, I just put it on Facebook Marketplace. I'm paying you fucking money, mate. Put it on Spitogato. What are you doing? So anyway, that's a whole different story as to why I don't go through agents anymore. Unless I need to buy something. Obviously, you can't avoid that. So step one is find your place. And honestly, look anywhere. A lot of the times you'll find stuff that aren't even available on the websites. They're not there. The shop that I bought last year, I was scouring the internet. And I shit, I was scouring Spitogato going, I can't find anything. Round the corner from my parents' place. Walked past one day, I was like, there's a sign on the window. Called them up, bought the shop. I couldn't believe it. So you just never know. Now, look, since COVID, shops have obviously decreased. And actually, even before COVID, I've always said this about Greece. Unfortunately for them, fortunately for us, Greece went through a trifecta, which I don't know will ever happen again in our timeline. 2008, we had the GFC. 2015, the bank shut down. 2020, COVID. Every one of those steps just completely plummeted the housing market and also the commercial market as well. Because housing, okay, fine, people need somewhere to live. Shops, not everyone needs a shop. So immediately shops went bust because they didn't have money, because of whatever, couldn't afford the rent, Then COVID happened, absolutely shut down the commercial side of things. And then people started selling from online. I'm like, oh, we don't need a shop, we need a warehouse. Or I can do it from home. So shop fronts became very accessible, very cheap if you wanted to rent them out as a shop. But also, people were starting to buy them and going, I can actually turn this into a little studio, and people will live in them because there's a rental crisis there. Not everyone wants a massive place. Sometimes people just want a nice little 30 square footer with a beautiful bathroom, nice little studio apartment right in the heart of the city or close to everything, and that's enough for a student. That's absolutely enough. Or for a single person, whoever, whatever. Personally, in Australia right now, and I live in Middle Park. I'm across the road from the beach in a very tiny 1-bedroom apartment. It's me and my dog. What do I need 5 bedrooms for? You know, and also, why do I want to waste the money on a 5-bedder when I don't need it? Same as in Greece. If they don't need the space, they're not going to do it unless they've got the money for it. And unfortunately, a lot more than not don't. So step one is finding this place. Now, I recommend, obviously, unfortunately, if you want to have a look at photos of the ceiling like this and, you know, the couch like this and the freaking toilet bowl on a half angle at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night, then you'll get a perfect understanding of nothing. That's a whole different story. But fuck it, whatever. I'll give them the plug. There's nothing else there. So, you found your place, right? Your steps from there don't change. It's get in touch with a real estate agent, have your documents in order, make sure that you do go through your due diligence. You do need a lawyer to get into the governing body, like the land titles registry, basically, in Greece, to make sure that it's clean, it's in that person's name, information matches, then it's not owing money, and it's not, because a lot of the times, oh, this is mine. Is it yours? Yeah, no, it is mine because it's been passed down from my dad or my parents or my cousin's dog. But the thing is, I haven't claimed it in my name. Inheritance. So a lot of reason why people are selling these days as well. Inheritance tax. To sell something, if you inherit something, it just doesn't automatically fall into your name. You've got to accept it. To accept it, you've got to pay an inheritance tax. A lot of these times people don't have the inheritance tax. So technically they're selling it, it's theirs, but it's not. And what they'll do is they'll use your deposit to pay off that inheritance tax, to then make it fall into their name, to then sell it, which happened to me in 2020. 14 months later, I had a property. And let me tell you, that was a fun time. So you got to make sure that the documents are clean. Now, if they're not, just like me, what I went through, doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing. If the property is worth its value for you and worth it, then it doesn't matter. It's Greece. These things are going to happen. Unfortunately, though, you're not going to know until they pop up. And if you go through a lawyer to do this, oh, they're charging by the hour. You know, they love these situations. Oh, no, it's got inheritance problems. It's going to take another 8 months. And how many hours on an email that I'm going to send you and charge you for? And thousands. Anyway, step one, get yourself a Greek lawyer and find out that all the paperwork is well and truly intact. Obviously, from there, you need to have your civil engineer who then needs to physically check the place to make sure that the square meterage matches up with what's written on the paperwork. From there, everyone accepts, blah, blah. You go to your solicitor, you draw out contracts. I agree, you agree. By this stage, you've already given the real estate their deposit and they're, see ya, gotten their money. They don't care. They're out. I remember when I bought my shop, I was like, yeah, cool, give us the paperwork. We checked it. Yeah, all good. We want to put down a deposit. Here's a deposit. The agent goes, thank you. That's my fee done. And you no longer need to deal with me. Enjoy the process. It's like, okay. Not that I didn't know that this happened because it's the umpteenth times I've gone through and bought properties. It's like, yeah, it always baffled me. I'm like, yeah, they really just jump off midway through. They get their money and they're like, see you later. And he goes, oh, you don't need it. You don't need me at the signing situation, which I don't. I didn't. You don't even need a lawyer, but I'll take a lawyer anyway. Just, yeah, whatever. Can you go through the contracts, have a listen, have a read, whatever. Generally, the solicitor themselves, like, they're there and they go through everything, the whole process, you know, blah, blah. They give you the history of the property as well, who's owned it, where it began, where it started from, who built it, who owned it since then, how many times it's handed over, all that kind of stuff. So it goes through a very meticulous process in history. Once you do all that, then it's in your name. Then you start the process of converting it from a commercial place of business to a residential place. Now, this is a fee, obviously, to the government, the local authorities. You also need to pay your civil engineer who needs to do the process. Like, well, what are you doing? What is it going to cost? Like, are you opening up a nightclub? Are you opening up a bar? Are you opening up this? They can actually block you because it depends on the zoning and it depends on what the residential stuff. Now, if you're opening up just a general shop, they can't, what are they going to do? You're selling coffee, you're selling fruits, whatever, it's fine. Where it starts to get dicey, which is what I wanted to do once, is where you want to turn it into a parking lot or a garage, even a garage. That's where it gets dicey. I mean, there was once a time when I was looking at a basement because I had a beautiful big frontage, like an open space where you could put in a driveway and turn it into a garage and blah, blah. Residents just blocked it. And it's understandable. They don't want the construction. They don't want the noise. They don't want the hassles, blah, blah, whatever it is. Sometimes you can bribe them. You can say, look, I'm going to give you all €1,000, whatever it is. You just got to figure out what the options and see whether it's worth it. So I know friends that have bought a little shop near their place in Greece and put a little driveway in and turned it into just a personal garage, which you're allowed to do. Again, you need to go through the council. Whatever fees are involved with it, it's in the couple of thousands. It's not, €20,000 or whatever. But then you got to build the driveway. You got to do this. You got to do that. So there are options available to you. It's not that hard to do, but you do need to go through the council because at the end of the day, all it takes is one resident to call up the council and go, hey, Arthur's building something. He's building a runway here. What's going on? And they'll shut you down. And also, if you're an international, they'll shut you down hard because they're like, dollars. That's Greece. So when you have all that in place, when you go through the civil engineer and they give you the certificate of, yes, that's fine, the permit, exactly, you just plaster it on the window or plaster it wherever because you might be getting rid of that window. But you plaster it somewhere and just let people know, hey, this is what's about to happen. I am converting this place from a commercial to a residential. Generally, no one will have an issue. The only times we'll have an issue is for noise for construction. But again, you fall under the local council laws where you can't go past 2:00 on certain days, or and whatever, and then you can do further. It's Greece. Whoever's building it in Greece knows exactly what they're doing and knows exactly how far to push it. Once all that is done, then you start the process of building and you do whatever you want to do to it. You quite literally turn it into a studio apartment, or you can turn it into a freaking warehouse, a massive, it depends what you buy. You can buy a basement, you can buy a semi-basement, you can buy a ground floor apartment, a ground floor shop. I've been buying ground floor shops. All you got to do is you got to make sure that the rubbish goes somewhere. You can't just leave it on the side of the road. You got to get yourself a skip, put it on the road for however long you need it, and away you go, the rubbish goes. As long as you clean up after yourself and make sure that no one else is being hindered by the construction, you're fine. Now, a few people have asked me, is it safe? Do people enjoy living on the streets? This and, because you're walking literally off the street and that's your front door and your front window. It's safe. Yeah. I mean, people do put bars on their windows. Bars are illegal in Greece. Here in Australia, they're not legal. They used to be legal back in the day. And then they went, no, too many people were dying in fires. Now they're illegal. It's very interesting when I've got bars on my shops and I'm like, no one has an issue with this. Fine. Yes, you are obviously more susceptible to break-ins, but generally shops are on a busy road or just off a busy road. They're not going to be deep in suburbia where it's very quiet. They are also there. Obviously, you got your little, Manaviko, your Kasapi, your this, your that, whatever it is. But generally, even those, they're not on a little side street on their own. They're generally packed in with other little shops as well. So, because it makes sense. Why would you put a shop where no one's going to walk? You're going to put it where the majority of the people are going to walk, hence the platia or surrounding areas of the platia. So, generally, there's a lot of foot traffic and car traffic on those areas. So, they're not going to get targeted that much, to be honest. From all my time in Greece, I only know of one break-in, and it happened on a semi-level, an imiotophos, so not ground, but just above ground. And this lady kept getting attacked. They obviously knew her place. It was easy to break into. And the back of the building faced into this dark sort of grassy, whatever it was, that all the buildings faced onto and no one really had it. So, obviously that she's going to get done. And she did get done 3 times. But with regards to shops and stuff like that, if you got bars on the door, don't forget the doors that they have in Greece and the windows that they have in Greece, Australia doesn't even understand. You couldn't comprehend. I don't even understand why they haven't come down to Australia, to be honest. My dad was a painter, and I remember asking him, why don't we have these doors here? And I think my mum was asking him, actually, and I was just part of the conversation. But he goes, Australia's buildings are not built strong enough to withstand these doors. We're talking doors that have got metal bars in them like this, that have got that literally do that, the locking mechanisms. And you've got pins, like 5 or 6 pins that come out of the side of the door. These things are like prison doors, man. They're heavy. They look wooden, but they're metallic inside. And you'll hear them go, clonk, like they click in. And then you've got 48 locks, 38 pins, you're not getting through them. That's a standard door in Greece, every door. And in fact, when people come to me and they go, oh, we want to renovate, what do you think is the first thing I should do? I'm like, change your door. Your door's old. Quite pure and simple. Your door's old. Because that's the first thing people look at. Doors and windows, the main entry points. Is it a secure door? Are they secure windows? The windows, double glazed or triple glazed. The white aluminium windows, where they're the MacGyver of windows. You turn them this way, they come outwards. You turn them that way, and they open inwards. It's like, and they're not here. I don't understand. So my point is that because of these heavy doors and windows, no one's going to sit there with an axe at the front of the street for 15 minutes trying to get in. You know what I mean? And especially if you've got a couple of bars in the window, you don't need to make it into a mesh, but you put a couple of bars in the window, enough to stop someone like my size getting in, obviously. You're fine. It's no issue at all. Especially if it's got a window on the back, then you've got, things either side. You put bars in there, you make it safe and secure, etc. The best thing about these shops is that they're generally close to public transport as well, because they're part of the shop. So from there, once you've done your due diligence, you've bought the shop, you've converted it in from a commercial to a residential, then you go through the process of building. You find yourself a builder, figure out what your costs and needs are, which are not that expensive because, let's face it, it's a 30 square meter shop, generally speaking. What are you going to put in there? A kitchenette, a bathroom. I'm now building a loft where I want to put some stairs in there and put up a second floor, kind of just a sleeping area where someone can just lay into a bed. That's generally it. You throw in an aircon, you change your windows or whatever, you do your doors, you do this, you do that. You can build a whole new front. You're allowed to build a whole new front because you got to build the door, you got to build the wall, you got to build a window. You're quite literally building a brand new place, but just in an empty shell. So essentially you're buying an empty shell. And you'll notice a lot of the time that the community actually wants that to happen because it brings beauty to their home. These shops might have been emptied for 6 months, 8 months, 3 years, whatever it was. They might not have been working since pre-COVID. And they're sick and tired of just seeing an empty shop. An empty shop also kind of makes a community look crap. You're walking through a street and you see empty shop, one open, empty, open. And you go, well, how good is this community? But all of a sudden you're seeing a brand new studio apartment there or doors next to maybe a shop that's working. You might have an empty shop, fine, whatever. But it just brings a brand new sort of presence to the community. So people are actually quite fond of it as long as you do it properly and you do it honorably. You're not trying to cheat anyone out. You're not trying to screw them out of anything. You're not trying to do it the cheap way and not get your permits and maybe not tell anyone. People are going to know, man. They're going to see a skip at the front of the building. Believe me, Maria upstairs with a Pomeranian sitting on the balcony talking to Angela, talking to Taki, talking to Saki, talking to the cousins, knows everything that's going on. So just tell them anyway. You might even get married with 13 goats by the end of it. Once it's all finished and you're happy, you throw it up on Spitorato. Where else are you going to put it? Spitorato on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. It's the same old process of leasing out a place. You have an AFIMI, you have a bank account, you do it properly. Now, as of January next year, 2026, all payments of real estate need to go through a bank. They're trying to really crack down on cash payments. They're trying to really crack down on taxes. You're going to need an AFIMI, not that you ever needed, because to have bought that place, you need an AFIMI, which is a tax file number. You're going to need a bank account anyway. You don't necessarily need to go through a real estate agent. You can do it on your own. You can do it through Facebook or whatever, or you can get a buyer's advocate to do it for you. Hi, how are you? Arthur, nice to meet you. buyinggrace.com.au. And then managing, they don't manage over there. So either you manage or you don't, or you come to me and I manage. But that's basically the crux of buying a commercial property and turning it into a residential. It's nothing amazing. It's nothing crazy. Now, obviously the steps to picking up a warehouse and turning that into a residential are completely different. You've got zoning issues there, and that falls separately to the local councils, the local government authorities. Now, that's not to say that you can't do it. You are allowed to do it, but again, it just becomes more extensive. You've got to go through more vigorous regulations and checks and balances. Make sure structurally it's sound. Again, civil engineer, lawyer, you're going to fall under the same premises. You need a lawyer to go through the contracts. You need a civil engineer to go through the structure and all that kind of stuff and make sure that the square meterage, blah, blah, blah. You need to go through your local governing authorities as well, because they're going to be like, well, why do you want to buy a warehouse and turn it into a house? How are you going to make this happen? What's going to do it? This and that. How do we pay? Because that's zoned in a solidly commercial space. You're buying something that's in a factory area and want to turn it into a house, as opposed to buying something that's in a residential zone that's a commercial use in a residential zone. So if you get what I mean, so it's much easier to do this one because everything here is residential anyway. You're just turning that one, but that's commercial. So you want to turn this one thing the opposite way, and they go like, well, hang on a second, our fee structure is different, blah, 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 taxes, whatever it is. So as long as it checks through with the local government authorities, your civil engineer and your solicitor will know all that stuff anyway. Your lawyer will definitely know that and be able to guide you through that. And also I can, case by case, get in touch. Once you've done all that, congratulations, you've successfully turned a commercial shop into a residential property. And you'd be very surprised how well these things do. Not only because they're brand new, not only because they're small and they're tight, and a lot more people are more willing to buy something that doesn't need a lot of upkeep and maintenance, or money on heating, or money on cooling, or whatever it is, or cleaning. Also, the other thing is, in Greece, they don't have a body corporate per se. They have what's called kinochrista. It's a general building maintenance fee. So you'll have your body corporate of the building, which is Kirdaki upstairs, or whoever wants to take care of it. And like, all right, we need €20 a month for the building lights and the cleaner. We need to pay the cleaner. So generally, every person will generally pay a kinochrista. Now, here's the loophole. Sometimes it's legally written into the contract that you got to pay. Sometimes it's not legally written into the contract, but the building requires you to pay. You can legally say no, but you'd be an arsehole. So, but there are cases where I think even in my parents' building, there's one person who just hasn't paid and they refuse to pay. And legally, they're allowed to. But at the same time, the rest of the building pays because you need a cleaner, you need building lights. It's dark. What are you going to do? Not have lights as you go down the stairs on the 5th floor, or an elevator? You're not going to use the elevator? What if needs power? Someone needs to pay for that. So shops are not part of that. They don't need that. They're attached to the building, but they're not using any of the amenities of the building. They're not using a lift. They're not using power of the building. Got its own power source. So you completely eradicate the building fees as well. And believe me, €20 to me and you is a couple of coffees. To Greeks, €20 is €20. When they're making 800 a month, €20 goes a long way. That's 5 packets of cigarettes and 13 frappettas. It's going to go a long way. So that's another little bonus about shops where people start to really enjoy them. Now, don't forget, you or me might not want to live there, but other people do. Heating and cooling is a big thing, especially with the price that are going through, especially when Ukraine and Russia started fighting, the gas became very expensive. So heating in particular was an issue. Cooling not so much because of electricity, it's air cons, but heating absolutely. So a lot of people will look at that and go, how much is this going to cost me to heat it in winter? Because it gets cold in Greece. And how much is it going to cost me to cool it in summer? Because it gets hot there also. So you're ticking off a lot of boxes. Now, again, it's at the lower end of the investment scale. It's not your 800, euro villas elsewhere in Athens, if you can even get a villa these days for €800, but you know what I mean, or a place in Santorini or the Isles or whatever it is. But it's an inner city investment. In the villages, this doesn't work so much because it's not really needed. This will only work in the very heavy areas that are very populated, because space is an issue, proximity to the center is an issue, and obviously inflation of market is an issue. So the cheaper, generally the better, the newer, obviously. So you're playing with that little scale. Anyway, I hope that's helped someone. Again, I'm going to be there in July, converting my shop into a residential property. I'm going to film all that. I can't wait to show you guys all that. I'm also there meeting up with a couple of clients, traveling around, having a look at some properties. So if you are in Greece and you do want to come along in Thessaloniki and say hi and see what I'm doing, by all means, doors are open. If you want to get in touch with me, buyinggrace.com.au or arthur@buyinggrace.com.au. Buying Grace across all the socials, YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram. That's about it. Until next week.